Hello and welcome to this tutorial on the London Underground Metropolitan line and S8 stock for Train Simulator 2020. Um, just wanted to create a tutorial on how to, number one, set everything up on the route and train and how to drive the train because I've just been playing this simulator now for the past few days. It's quite difficult initially to get the hang of everything, so I thought I'd show you guys what to do and what the route looks like. So, if you open up Train Simulator and click Quick Drive, you can select the Just Trains S8 stock, which has three versions. It has a black buffers, black and red buffers, or just red buffers. We'll go for the black buffers version. Next, you set up your actual route. So on the Metropolitan line, there's various different departure and destination stations. If you're familiar with the London Underground, you'll recognize a lot of these names. Um, for the purposes of this tutorial, we will start at Aldgate and we will go to Harrow-on-the-Hill. So Aldgate is in the center of London, and Harrow-on-the-Hill is in northwest London. And this route kind of shows you both extremes of the Metropolitan line and how the route looks very different at each end. Next, you set up the conditions, so we can put spring, cloudy, and you can put any time you want, and we'll put 3:30 in the afternoon for the sake of this tutorial. Next, you can click start, and this will load up your route and train, and you'll be ready to drive in Train Simulator. Now, once it loads, you'll see it initially loads into the cab of the train, and we'll need to do a number of steps to get the train to work. But before doing those steps, I will show you a mini tour of the different buttons in the cab and what they do, just so you have an idea. It will make things a lot clearer later on. So this is the cab of your Metropolitan line S8 stock train. Um, this is what the train looks like from outside. It's a it's the newest train actually on the London Underground, so very modern train, latest technology. So you can see it's not turned on or anything. It's just got the tail lights on. We're at Aldgate Station. So inside the train, let's start from the top left corner. You've got some temperature controls here. This controls the temperature of the cab. Next, you've got the cab door open and cab door close button. So if you click cab door open, it will open the left hand side cab door. And if you click cab door close, it closes the cab door. Next, you've got your in-train computer. I'll explain this more in detail when we start driving. Next, you've got the ATO start button. So what this does is essentially the idea is in the future the Metropolitan line will be a fully automatic train route. So the train operator or driver, as they are called at the moment, would click these buttons and the train would automatically drive to the next station. Next, you've got your door control buttons. So if you click open, this would normally open the passenger doors. But because we've not actually turned the train on, it doesn't work at the moment. Next, you've got your door close button underneath, which is blue. And underneath that, you've got your traction brake controller, which is a dead man's handle. So to activate it, you click Shift E, and you move it forwards to drive and backwards to brake. But for now, we'll leave that off. Next, you've got your speedometer here, and you'll see when we're driving, this displays to you your speed, how fast you're driving. Next, these monitors here, the left and right monitors, these show you the CCTV of the platform and train, so you can see, if the doors are fully closed or if there's any incidents on the platform that you need to be aware of. Next, moving on, Then we have the radio panel here. This actually doesn't work, but in real life the driver would input a code in here to connect to the right frequency to communicate with central control. And underneath that you've got various radio related buttons. You can control the volume, you can make a public address, that type of thing. Next you've got cab interior lights, so I like to keep this on both when driving. It just keeps the cab bright and warm. Next, windscreen wiper, so you've got two modes, slow and fast, off. So it's not raining today, we can keep it off. Next you've got windscreen wiper wash. I don't know what this does, but I'm guessing it's to do with the water coming onto the windscreen. Next you've got the door control buttons, but this time for the right hand side. You've got your horn, so it has a high pitch and a low pitch. Next you've got your telephone, and this doesn't actually work in the simulator, but in real life the driver would use this telephone to communicate to the passengers via public address or talk on the radio. And next to this you have the sensitive edge button. I'm not too sure what this does, but I'm guessing it's related to the doors because they have sensitive edge system built in. And underneath that you have an alarm acknowledge button, which essentially would illuminate if you pass a signal at danger or if any other safety system activates within the train. I forgot to mention you've got an emergency brake button here, which is self-explanatory. It would activate the emergency brake of the train. And you've got this on the right hand side as well. Also on the right hand side you have the right hand side cab door control buttons. So this would open the right cab door and close the cab door. We've also got toss light button. This would illuminate this light if there is someone on the right hand seat. Got some various door control buttons here, and if you come here to the sort of right back side of the train, you've got a few different buttons here. So traction trip, traction test. These are maintenance related buttons, I believe. You've got a CSDE button, a test button. So CSDE is a system that opens the doors on the correct side. It's nothing to worry about too much on the train simulator, but in real life the driver could use this to test the system. I've got a few other auxiliary system tests and buttons here. Hazard warning light, calling on light. I'm not too sure what this does, but maybe one of you train fanatics might know. A tripcock reset. This is important. If you pass a signal at danger, you'll need to reset the tripcock. This will allow the train to proceed forward and reset the safety system. And you've got an ice mode button. I'm guessing this is to do with de-icing if the conditions are icing conditions. Next we come down, you've got your train key and your master control switch, which I will explain in just a minute. And finally you've got your circuit breakers here, which don't actually do anything at the moment, and some more door control buttons which we don't need to worry about. So assuming you've entered the cab on your route, on your shift, whatever you want to call it, and you need to set the train up, the first thing you need to do is actually turn the train on. So go back to this panel here and click on. And the next thing, you need to move the master control switch to the tripcock position. There's various other modes here, including auto, but the one you need to use would be tripcock, and this will allow the train to drive at its normal speeds and normal modes on the route manually. There's also a restricted manual mode here. This you don't need to worry about unless you pass a signal at danger, at which point you need to move this to restricted manual. But for now, we'll keep it in trip cook. Next, once this is done, you need to set up the train computer. So normally when a driver comes on the train, he puts his duty number, his radio number and train number here, but we can, for the purposes of this simulation, just click confirm and bypass that screen. And next it will ask you for your destination. So today we are going to Harrow-on-the-Hill, uh, slow Met from Aldgate. So this is code 27. If you click 27 here and click confirm, it displays Harrow-on-the-Hill as our destination, and we're at Aldgate Station at the moment. And if I change our view to outside, you can see this is reflected on the destination. It says Harrow-on-the-Hill, all stations, Metropolitan line. And now the only thing left to do is to actually open the passenger doors. So we need to just click the open button here. You can see it's illuminated and the doors are open. Once all your passengers have boarded the train, simply just click the close button. Close button here. And you can see the doors close. And this orange light will turn off, indicating that all the doors are closed. And we have a blue indication here, which also means all the doors are closed. So next we need to actually move forward. So the first thing you need to do is activate your dead man's handle. So if you click Shift E, this activates the dead man's handle and will allow you to move the train forwards. And if you click the A button on your keyboard or move this handle forward, the train will slowly drive. Now depending how forward you move it, it will accelerate faster. But you need to pay attention to the speed limits. So now leaving Aldgate Station, we can observe the limit is 10 miles per hour. It's written just here where my cursor is. So try not to accelerate above that limit because the train will potentially not trigger the signals to turn green. So you can see this signal is green now, and if you're driving above the limit, it may remain on red, and this will cause you an issue because you will need to reset the system. You'll need to pass the signal at danger and then reset the system, which is an inconvenience to your virtual passengers, and it's just a bit of a pain in the backside to do. So to make life easier, just stick to the limit and you won't have an issue. So now it's 15 miles per hour. Again, just maintain 15 miles per hour. Don't go faster because that will cause you a problem. And we are now on approach to Liverpool Street Station. So you can see the platforms now coming into view. And we've got the passengers on the platform. And they've done a pretty good job at replicating what the station looks like, because it literally looks like the real thing. So as we approach the end of the platform, just decelerate the train and make sure you stop within this stopping marker, which I'll show you. So to decelerate, click D, and ideally you want it to look like this. So the yellow is okay, the green is perfect. If you stop in the green, this means you've done a good job. And now you can just open the doors, and you can see the train is perfectly stopped, and the passengers are now entering and leaving the train. Now once the passengers are on, simply just click close, and this closes the train doors and the light illuminates. So now click A on your keyboard or move the handle forward and the train will drive. It's very simple. So you can either do it with your keyboard or you can do it like this, moving the handle. I think the keyboard is easier, but the handle also works. And the next station is Moorgate, which is a station you should pay particular attention to because there is a 20 mph speed limit as you approach the station. Again, Moorgate is a very interesting station because there is a signal at the middle of the platform, and like I mentioned earlier, if you're accelerating too fast, if your train is above that speed limit, the signal will not change. So upon entering the platform, you need to make sure that your speed is not too high. So now I'm reducing even more below 20, more towards 10, because the light physically will not move unless you are below a certain speed. This is what I'm worried about. So now, in fact, it's still not moved, which is quite frustrating. If we try and move forward, still not moved. So this may happen in the train simulator. I don't know if it's a glitch or if I've done something wrong, but in this case we'll pass signal at the red light now, and you'll see the procedure you need to do to reset the light and the train to drive again. So do a slow acceleration, very slow acceleration, and you'll see the train automatically stops and it says Tripcock front cab tripped. So this means you passed the red light, the train's emergency brake is applied. So click acknowledge here, and also turn off the alarm acknowledge button here. Deactivate your dead man's handle, so Shift E, and then on your master control switch, move this to restricted manual. Now what this does is, sorry, one more thing we have to do. Click Tripcock reset. Click this button, very important. Now what this allows you to do is to drive your train past the red light now, but you are limited to 10 miles per hour for 3 minutes. So you're not allowed to accelerate above 10 miles per hour for 3 minutes, which is a bit of a pain, and this is automatic. So you'll see now I put full power, it won't go above 10 miles per hour, but we need to stop actually for the station, so I'm going to stop the train. I've slightly overran. Let the passengers on. Yeah, we slightly overran the platform. That's fine, not a problem, it's only a simulator. And then we can close the doors. And continue driving. Now, when we had the signal problem, it was at 45 past, we reset the system. So we have to wait until 48 past to move the train back into Tripcock mode, which will mean we can accelerate above 10.7 miles per hour, which the train is driving at the moment. So now even with 100% full power, the train can't physically go above 10.7 miles per hour. So that's important to note if you're in this situation when you're driving on the train simulator. You can change view on the train, so this is what the behind of the train looks like. Again, it's got the destination and everything. By clicking the 5 button on your keyboard, you've got an interior view of your train. Looks very accurate, very much like the real thing. And the only thing is this overhead doesn't move or show your destination, which is a bit annoying, but I guess there's only so many things they can add with hardware limitations, etc. So we're now on approach to Barbican Station, platform 2. And once we're inside, we will stop the train, open the doors, and we will reactivate the tripcock mode, which will let us drive at a faster speed. So yeah, one thing which is not in the train simulator, which is quite annoying because it would be nice to have, is the announcements. So in real life on the London Underground, before you enter a station, it will tell you, the next station is Barbican, and it will announce to you, various bits of information. Unfortunately, in the simulator, they've not added this in, so that's the only thing I guess that's missing. So we're now in Barbican. We can move this back to Tripcock because 3 minutes have passed. The passengers have boarded. We can click close. And we can continue driving. So just on the announcements again, this is the only thing which is missing from the game, and so everything else is perfect, I think. But to get that real underground experience, I think you definitely need the announcements. Now on approaching to Farringdon Station, just be cautious because there's a couple of curves on the platform, and if you're going too fast, it's very easy to increase your speed and overrun the platform unintentionally. Which I've done now. Yep. Okay, so we are going to open the door. Farringdon Station. You can view the platform and everything. And we can close the doors. Now we have a 25 mph speed restriction as indicated on this signpost here, and here on this yellow markings, train simulator. So pay attention to this. Do not exceed your speed because if you're going at 40 mph, for example, this could be a major issue. And in a minute the speed will increase to 40 as the limit increases. And we are on approach to King's Cross St Pancras Station. So you can see now the speed limit again will drop to 25 in about a quarter of a mile. So better to reduce your speed early to avoid having any issues. and we're passing through the old platforms at King's Cross. So again, very nice that they've added this into the train simulator. It's a very realistic addition, because I'm not too sure how many years ago King's Cross actually changed platforms. I'm sorry, changed the location of the platforms and got relocated to where we're driving now. So again, you're going to want to stop in the correct position. The first one is not for the S8 stop, it's the second one. So just wait till you get there. Stop where it says S8. Perfect. Now you can open the doors. And the passengers are boarding. So the reason why you have two different stopping boards is because there is the S7. Can't exactly show you, but yeah, it does say S7 here where my cursor is, on the Circle and Hammersmith and City line, and on the District line as well. And on the Metropolitan line there is the S8 stock train, which is 8 carriages long. So due to the length of the train being longer, you'll often find the platforms have different stopping posts for the different lengths of carriages. And this is quite unique because on the between Aldgate and Baker Street, the line is shared with the Circle and Hammersmith and City lines, so these two tracks are multi-use. So it's not just got the S8 trains, you've also got the S7 trains. And interestingly enough, this is also the first ever, I believe, underground tunnel made over 150 years ago for the London Underground. I believe it was called the Metropolitan District Railway. I believe, I might be wrong. So yeah, it was the first ever part of the London Underground to be opened back then with the steam trains. So now just entering Euston Square Station. Some stations will say SS instead of S8 and S7. So this is generic, so it means that both the S7 and the S8 can stop at the exact same place. So again, pay attention to that, because some stations may have that, some stations may not. And also some stations the cameras might not be used, it says not used here. That's again station specific stuff. So yeah, the lights illuminated in the cab when you switch to both is sufficient. If you leave it on to right, for example, it's still fairly dark, and left. But when putting both, it's, in my opinion, the best mode to leave it in. And a great thing as well is the addition of AI trains and traffic on the simulator. So you can see on the opposite platform there is another S8 train, presumably heading to Aldgate. Adds to the simulation, makes it a lot more realistic, and makes it look like London. So again, fantastic job. So Great Portland Street, another great design station. Look at the architecture. I mean, it's really, really realistic. Okay, the passengers have boarded. We can close the doors and continue to Baker Street. And you can see now there's another train straight away behind the train that we just entered the platform. So a lot of traffic now in the simulator, very realistic. So an important thing to note out actually as we approach Baker Street is the tunnels diverge. So if you continue straight ahead, the train will go towards Hammersmith on the Circle Line. But no, as the Metropolitan Line train, we need to diverge to the right towards Harrow and Uxbridge and Chesham, that direction. So the speed limit is actually very important here. If you exceed 15 miles per hour, the lights again will not change. So it's important to just be at a reasonable slow speed to allow the signals to change. Which in a moment will come into sight, explaining exactly what I mean. So just in the distance you can see this signal and repeater. The top signal is green, the below is yellow, indicating the light afterwards is red. So now as we come across the corner, you will in a minute see a red light. Yep, here it is. So this means the signal is not ready for us. Now it's actually turned green, so perfect. We can continue, but don't continue at a high speed. Continue to be slow, because as we diverge now to the right, there's another signal which again takes your speed into account. So if you continue at a slow speed, it's the best thing. So again, straight ahead we have the Circle Line and Hammersmith and City Line, but diverging now to the right where we're going is the Metropolitan Line. So on approach to Baker Street here, the platform is curved and there is a signal in a minute you'll see which is normally a bit of a problem in the simulator. Hopefully it will change. Yeah, so now we've got a red light. Now I'm driving very slowly because I want it to turn green. In the past it's not been too successful, I don't know why, but we pray that something happens. Yeah, it looks like again it's not going to work out. This is very, very frustrating because sometimes it does it perfectly and other times it doesn't. But I'm going to assume that I'm doing something wrong. So, we'll pass the signal at danger. You notice the train has stopped. We do the same things again. Acknowledge the alarm. Reset the trip code. Move this to restricted manual. Put your dead man's handle on again. Sometimes you need to do it a couple of times for it to work. I'm not doing it at the moment. We'll try one more time. Yeah, so it seems like we're actually stuck on the platform. I'm not too sure why it's happening. So I've done everything correctly. We'll do it one more time. So reset the trip clock and move this switch into restricted manual or the forward position and drive forward. It doesn't want to work. Okay, let's figure it out. Okay, we got there in the end. The train is moving. And now we will stop. And wait here at Baker Street. So doors opened. Yeah, it's very frustrating when something like that happens because you're following the correct procedure and it doesn't change. But anyway, we will move on. So the passengers have boarded. Now we can close the doors. And we have to wait 3 minutes for the train system to reset to allow us to be faster than 10 miles per hour. But as we leave Baker Street now, you can see the tunnels are diverging. And we are being positioned to go towards North London. So while we're driving slowly, I'll explain to you a bit more about the in-car computer we have here. So normally a driver would be able to do many functions on this screen, but this train simulator has just limited it to adding the destination. But you can still see what other functions would be available. So you can do a traction reset, you can do speed limit on and off, cold weather, you can do de-icing, demisting, sleet, brush, door control, you can do various different door controls. Light environment, you can control the lights, how they work. NIS off, NIS on, I don't know what that means to be honest with you. Manual message, what that will do is the train driver can actually play manual announcements. So for example, if there is a, I don't know, restriction further ahead or the train terminates early, he can play the announcement here. Next, driving station. So normally that goes back to the main screen, and main menu, that also goes back to the main screen. So actually driving station, I believe that lets you amend your train destination, but I've only been able to do it on the platform. So still some stuff to learn here, but a great system. Compared to the older trains, I think this is a big step forward. So now we are past the 3-minute mark, so I can increase the speed. But to do that, I need to stop the train. So train stopped. we will move this back to Chipcock, and we can drive at our faster speed again at 40 miles per hour. Now, this stretch of track between Baker Street and Harrow-on-the-Hill is one of the more longer stretches of track on the Underground. It contains a number of disused stations as well. So before, the Metropolitan line used to serve, for example, you can see it says Swiss Cottage MB northbound here. That's an abandoned station. And there's also another one afterwards. I don't remember the name. We'll see in a minute. But yeah, during the history of the Underground, a lot of different abandoned stations got opened and closed in various places. So that's another interesting thing you can look up if you wanted to. So the speed limit's decreasing as we approach, Finchley Road eventually, but initially the abandoned Swiss Cottage station. And it increases again to 40. So now approaching the Swiss Cottage abandoned station, decreases again to 25. And you can see the remains of the old platforms here, which is quite cool because normally on Train Simulator, especially on the older routes, you don't get to see the realistic, abandoned stations. On approach to Finchley Road now, the track bends to the left initially, to the right initially, and then to the left. And we join the tracks of the Jubilee line. So from here onwards until Wembley Park, the Jubilee line is with us on the centre 2 tracks. And we are now on the above ground portion of the line, so it looks very different to what we've seen before. So now we can open the doors. So you can see that Metropolitan line train is on the far left platform there. This is because the centre 2 are normally on the Jubilee line, so very accurate portrayal. Okay, now we can close the doors. and continue our drive. So now the speed limit is slightly higher at 50 miles per hour as we continue the trip over ground, because there is an increased distance between the stations. It allows you to drive at a higher speed. And actually, you'll see now we pass stations which are only served by the Jubilee line. So just now we passed St. John's Wood. No, sorry, we passed West Hampstead. And then we'll pass Kilburn, Willesden Green, Borders Hill, and Neasden, non-stop until Wembley Park, which is the next Metropolitan line stop on this part of track. So this is Cuban Station, and the speed limit increases to 60. We've just got a 1936 stop train past our right hand side. Now on the train simulator, because it doesn't have the Jubilee line train, it will just automatically put another train as a traffic. So don't be scared if you see a random train on another track. It's just because that's the way the traffic has appeared on the simulator. And now we're passing Willesden Green Station. Again, no stopping for the Metropolitan line here. Dollis Hill Station now to our right, again Jubilee line only. And now we pass Neasden Station, which again is not normally served by the Metropolitan line. And interestingly enough, we have another 1930 stop train to our right, which is simulating a Jubilee line route. It's always nice to overtake another train. I feel like the more powerful one. And yes, to our right there's also the Neasden train depot. So this is the main maintenance hub for the Metropolitan line and the S-stop trains. They will come here during the evening, for example, to be stable and for them to be cleaned, etc., for the next day's service. And we are on approach now to Wembley Park, which is the next station. And you'll see in the horizon a nice simulation of Wembley Stadium. In fact, if I change the view, yep, you can see it now, it's just coming in. We've got Wembley Stadium just there. So, for all you football fans, that's Wembley Stadium. And now we need to reduce the speed on approach to Wembley Park. And you can see on the signal the three lights to the right is illuminated, so this means we are being routed into the right hand platform here. Okay, slightly overran the platform, but that's okay. Passengers are boarded, we can close the doors. So again, on leaving Wembley Park, we can increase to 50 miles per hour as indicated on speed board and speed restriction. And you can see the scenery here is very much reflective of what Wembley actually looks like. We've got the stadium, got the tracks here, we've got a 1938 stop train which unrealistically is with us, pretending to be a Jubilee Line train. And you can see now actually, this is a great example of how the routes diverge now. So the Metropolitan line and the Jubilee line split from this point. So the Jubilee line is now, I believe, going to the right and we're going to the left. So different paths for different lines. And now on approach to Preston Road Station. Now again, be cautious because the speed limit is 50 miles per hour. You're coming in at a faster speed, so it's better to decelerate before to avoid overrunning the platform. Okay. So this is the back of the train, got the front of the train. Okay, train is ready to leave. We can close the doors. Blue illumination, we can continue. So now again, another AI traffic estate train ahead of us. And this is, the real Metropolitan line. We've got all these tracks heading to various different destinations. it looks pretty beautiful. Fantastic simulation of the S8 train. Looks really realistic. Again, we go back to the interior. Fantastic replication. Really well done to the team that created the game. And the next station will be Northwick Park, which is the station before Harrow-on-the-Hill, where we will end today's trip. So on approach to Northwick Park, again, be cautious of the high speed, because from 50 miles per hour to stop, you need to stop well before the platform. Okay, open the doors. And we've got another train on the other platform, which is heading to Aldgate. Pretty cool, they've actually added the correct destination as well for the traffic. Okay, the people are boarded, we can close the doors. Blue light, we can go. So now as we approach Harrow-on-the-Hill, the speed limit is initially 35 or drops to 35, and then we will drop to 20 and be routed into the platform. So I've been caught out here as well before for driving too fast, because there are more signals that we need to pay attention to. So try not to be above 35 is my advice. Otherwise you'll have troubles like I did. So already we've got an amber indication, so this is telling us the signal ahead is was red. Thankfully it's just turned green, so we will not have a problem. In the past, again, I've had issues here where the light stayed red, and I've had to do the whole thing again with resetting the trip clock. "20 miles per hour now, being routed into platform 3. And you can see Harrow-on-the-Hill station now in all its glory with its many platforms. So now we're just going to stop the train and turn everything off. Okay, slightly overran, but that's fine before the signal. So we just open the doors, and what I normally do is turn the lights off and put the train on shutdown and switch the key off. And this is when the driver would normally change ends and go to the other side. But in our case, this is the end of our ride. So thank you very much guys for watching this tutorial. I hope it helps you on your train simulator adventures, and hopefully I'll be creating some more videos soon. So yeah, once again, great simulator, great route. The only thing to pay attention to is the signals, and if you happen to pass a red signal, just follow the steps I demonstrated in this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching, and see you guys soon.